The game Zero Hour, not to be confused with the Command & Conquer game, is a game that I personally had trouble playing to make this video because of some of the quirks that made me wish I was playing other games you might be familiar with. But we're gonna have a look at what this game does right, and what I personally don't like about it, as well as how it stacks up to other games you might own or are thinking of spending your hard-earned money on. Also, let me know what was the last game you spent money on, and while you do that, just leave a little like. But what exactly is Zero Hour? It is a first-person tactical shooter, and you are a part of the SWAT team called the MS Task Force, and you mostly deal with terrorist-related incidents across a couple of game modes. This includes PvP, which unfortunately I wasn't able to get a whole lot of games in the Asia region, which meant that I had to migrate to the American servers, but this is because of the declining player base. And the friendly fire indicators are very similar to Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, where you've got red as the VC or the terrorists, and then you have blue as the Southern Forces or the counter-terrorists. I think this is why they force you to do the training room before you actually go out and play with other players, because I could have avoided a very deadly accident. But the PvP game mode is definitely a strong point to this game, and it plays out more like a slower paced and realistic Rainbow Six. Personally, I don't like games where I have to sit in a corner and wait for something to happen, but a lot of people unfortunately have an avoidance to this game mode, and it's because of this thing called Denuvo Anti-Cheat, which has caused some controversy for the devs because apparently it does something with the kernels with your PC. I have no idea what that means. All I know is that they are pretty important, and the only kernel I know and like is Kernel Harlan Sanders. Okay, I'm just messing around, but I know that a lot of you that play Insurgency or Insurgency Sandstorm prefer the PvE game mode, so let's have a look at that game mode. And it plays out like Ready or Not and SWAT 4, except the bots, unlike in Ready or Not, don't laser you from halfway across the map with a Glock. But the game takes place across 11 different maps and range from a bank, military airport, and even a boat. And the maps, unlike Ready or Not, aren't that large in size, but rather are more vertical, and most engagements happen within 5 to 10 meters, and you definitely will feel claustrophobic, especially when there's just complete darkness. You also get a cool grappling hook where you can rappel up and down the building. You could just sit outside like a bedroom window and stealthily take out targets near windows, and you can even get up to the top floor quickly and work your way down. But most maps take place at night, and they have a unique theme that can be toggled on and off. But one thing that I like is that prior to some maps, you might get a 999 call, and some of them are pretty eerie, and they remind me of SWAT 4. But you get briefed on what to look for, who you might be up against. You can select weapons, attachments, equipment, and you can even view a 3D model of the map if you're playing as the CTs, and you can even draw out a plan of attack. However, I personally prefer to go in blind and learn maps over time and sort of have to expect the unexpected. However, for PvP game mode, then this is definitely helpful, but I primarily play PvE, so I didn't have too much use of it. But it's definitely there, and it's a cool feature. Now, a very important part of any tactical shooter is the way the guns look and feel. Some of the animations are alright, but one thing I don't like is the lack of oomph. Now, I know, it's ironic that an Australian who hasn't fired a proper gun is complaining, but when we compare it to a game such as Ready or Not, there's a pretty big difference, because in Ready or Not, the guns just feel so beefy, like there's oomph every time you pull the trigger. And even the animations like reload, inspect magazine are a lot more fluid, and even in Ready or Not, when you fire, it's like the screen shakes, there's gases that come out of the barrel, and your player model physically recoils. But this also happens in Zero Hour, but it just doesn't feel as good. Trust me, if you try them out, you'll know. But in regards to equipment and guns, you get a decent selection. You have your RS2 Vietnam classics such as the SKS and double barrel, but you also have more modern weapons. You get frag grenades, so I assume the rules of engagement are probably a little bit more lax than they are in America.
Oh shit, my bad! Bro.
But you can get cameras that can see under doors, you can place traps as well as sticky cameras in PvP mode. But one great thing is the night vision, and it's much better than Ready or Not, especially considering the fact in this game that lights are, I'd say, dynamic. I don't know what the word you'd use, but you can shoot out lights, and there's also a breaker on every map that you can hit the switch, and it'll make the map completely pitch dark. But in terms of speed of gameplay, I'd say it's slower than Ready or Not, despite Zero Hour having a sprint function. And the reason why I say it's slower is for a couple of reasons. That that being there is so many goddamn traps placed around, and thank God to the Ready or Not devs for toning down the traps because there were so many of them. It made Bosnia look like a fucking joke. Heck, even the bots were literally triggering the traps, so thankfully they've been very toned down. I know maybe terrorists might do this in real life, but from a gameplay perspective, I just don't like the constant need to get down and then disarm a trap. Are you serious? And another reason, and mind you, this is the biggest reason why I don't really like to play this game, and that's the movement is so goddamn clunky. Starting and stopping, moving left to right. I don't like the way it feels. I know you're wearing very heavy body armor and equipment, but the thing is, Ready or Not and SWAT 4 give the sensation that you aren't mobile, and you are purposely made to be slow and be methodical and tactical. But the thing is, these games don't feel as clunky, and honestly, the first thing I thought of was the movement mechanics from Tarkov, and how much I was surprised the game felt like that. This includes proning, standing up, or even using some equipment. I'm not a fan, okay? Some people might like it, but it's something that'll prevent me from playing the game in the future. But obviously, in terms of gameplay speed compared to like Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, it's significantly slower, but not as slow as games like Arma, where you're just walking and walking with little to do, but there's always usually something to do in this game, and even getting shot at, right? I'm just interjecting here completely off script, but in Ready or Not, when you get into those one-on-one gunfights, it's so scary, especially when a guy's running at you with a knife. He's running, surrender! Jesus Christ! Yeah, I've been playing too much Zero. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. It's genuinely scary, and I just love that about the game, that it just puts me on edge. And in 0 Hour, I just don't get the same feeling. Like, I mean, those hair, butt clenching, like, you know, anus closing moments, but that's not to say that I wasn't constantly on edge and playing this game, checking corners, making sure I don't activate a trap or that someone's gonna sneak up behind me. But one thing I do like about this game is the challenges you experience from the AI. In the past, I've seen footage of the AI just being brain dead, but recently I think they've been pretty good. You can yell for compliance and arrest suspects. You can literally get ambushed by suspects hiding under beds, and I just had no idea this was a thing, and it absolutely scared me. Yeah, when you get to a certain point. What the shit? What? He's under the bed! And suspects can even grab hostages. You have to react quickly, because even the slightest delay or inaccuracy, you'll fail the mission. Oh.
Bro, we're gaming.
Oh my god, I snapped onto him. You can even shoot guns out of people's hands. But speaking of hostages, one thing that I like is you have to actually move them out of the building, so it's best to leave them last. And admittingly, yeah, the suspects and everything walk like they shit at their pants. But I mean, considering the circumstances that the hostages are put in, I can't blame them for shitting themselves. Now, if you've played SWAT 4, you'll know that the Fairfax residence is one of the best levels in the game, in my opinion that is, but it's definitely a very memorable level. If you don't know what it is, basically a fat bald guy kidnaps a bunch of women, and as you go deeper into his house, or his mother's house, I don't believe he's paying rent, but you see some truly sick things. In 0 Hour, there is an equivalent, and that is the cafe level. No fancy gunfights, just a single enemy. The thing that ruins this mission is that the map is too big. They should definitely have cut off the top couple of floors, because we literally had to run around the whole map looking for a single suspect, and we just basically gave up and reset the spawn points for the suspects and hostages. And this was also because the movement was also making it a little bit frustrating, but it's like if you played SWAT 4 Ready or Not and you're running around looking for the last suspect and your leg is damaged and you're walking at a snail's pace. That's the kind of frustrating that it was. But the good thing about the cafe level is you see some absolutely sick shit. Like, it was honestly shocking. I genuinely cannot show you because there's just nudity and it's so grotesque, but you find the murderer's lair in the basement behind a secret door, and some people say they like the sound in an atmospheric sense when you look at Ready or Not or SWAT 4 because it's scripted, but it definitely adds when it's used. However, some people say they like 0 Hour because it doesn't have that Hollywood atmosphere where music and shit plays during gunfights or even when you make a breakthrough discovery, and if you don't like those features about those games, then you'll like 0 Hour. Me personally, I like having a bit of background music to set the tone. Like, you go into a building and then some dark creepy music plays because you don't know what to expect. You're in new unfamiliar territory. Now, the graphics are pretty good in my opinion. I wouldn't put them on the same scale as Ready or Not, but they're not shit looking graphics. They do look good. But would I recommend you get this game? And it's a tough call because it is genuinely a really cheap game, especially when compared to Ready or Not, which charges a hefty amount for early access, but you can get the game, try it out for a couple of games, which is what I did with a good mate that I played with who actually helped me get some of the gameplay, and if you don't like it, you can always refund it. Now, this isn't a game that I would persuade my friends who don't like tactical shooters to buy, because we have Ready or Not, and despite the game's flaws, we have fun in ways that we wouldn't be able to do in 0 Hour. But I mean, another option is to just buy or acquire via ulterior methods to get SWAT 4 and just install the First Responders mod, which basically updates the graphics, new levels, new weapons, new animations, and the game is still, despite being released early 2000s, is still just a fucking S-tier game in my opinion. But all in all, don't think that I'm shitting on the game, because I feel kind of bad when I have to say bad things about a game. I don't want to be like one of those like YouTubers when Cyberpunk or Fallout 76 was released and say like, oh yeah, like this game is dog shit, don't get it. Because I mean, it's a good game, but it's just not for me. I can't get into it, and it's not something that I would personally return to. But anyways, if you do want to see Ready or Not videos, do click on the playlist that's on screen. Anyways, my name is Tantu, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, because if you did, please do consider leaving a like, subscribe, and sharing the video with your friends. Anyways, I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.